Welcome to E39 Source. Today we're going to be replacing some underbody components on a 2000 E39 M5. We're going to focus on the fuel tank straps. Those are usually the things that rust out and create problems. If you can get your car up in the air, or if you can poke under there and examine your straps, the fuel tanks are, they're essentially, it's one tank, but there's two deep sides to it. They're the big plastic tubs under the rear seats. So there's two straps that hold those in place. Here they are. Over the years, as these cars age, they tend to get rusty, and if they get too rusty, they will break, fall down, create sparks, and that is very bad near 20 gallons of 91 or 93 octane gasoline. So we're going to be replacing those. These things are fairly inexpensive, which is nice. A part number, I believe they're the same, 16111184911. I picked these up from ECS Tuning. They're about $11, $12, maybe $15 a piece. They are the same part number. So you will need two of those. Note that if you're buying from ECS, they come with the rubber, I guess they're somewhat kind of grommets inside. These things work this way. Notice there's a hinge on this side. This is going to install like this, hinge up over probably a bolt or a piece of frame, and then this side uses, I believe it's a 6mm Allen head bolt that will thread in, and I think I'm replacing those bolts too in my parts bag over there, so I'll find those bolts and get you a part number. On an M5, it's got a little bit of extra M doing under there. You need to remove your chassis braces. I'm going to replace mine as well. They're also rusty. I'm trying to replace all the rusty components under the car. Here are the chassis braces. Again, only applicable to an M5. We'll just throw these in the DIY, and their part number as well. They're different part numbers per side. One side is 51717892186. The other side is the same. It's just a 185 at the end. So those are your right and left chassis braces. They just provide for a little bit of structural integrity over bumps and stuff like that. I'm also going to attempt to replace the center exhaust brace. Mine is also very rusty, being an Ohio car for the last 14 years. Part number on that, 18211745300, about $16. These parts over here are inexpensive, less than $20 a piece. These parts, not so inexpensive, probably because they're BMW M parts. They're about $130 a piece. They're held in with a very long bolt on this end here that sticks up 3 or 4 inches, and then 2 smaller bolts down there that this kind of goes like this. I believe they go this way. There's going to be bolts there, and then picture this other one would line up right here, and these same 4 bolts hold on the center exhaust brace as well as the chassis braces. So step 1, now that we have all of our parts sorted out, I'll get the bolts here in a little bit. We need to get the back of the car in the air. Unless you are really thin and don't mind having no light and no working space, you're going to need at least probably a foot, 18 inches of clearance under there for comfort. So here's a jack. We're going to use the rear differential as a jacking point to get the whole rear of the car up in the air. I recommend you put a piece of wood or something on there, and then locate your differential, which is right there in the middle of the screen. We'll get on the bottom of that and jack that up. Since these cars are rear-wheel drive with rear-wheel parking brakes, you're definitely going to want to chock your front wheels. Whether those are wheel chocks, bricks, 2x4s, whatever you want to use, best way is going to be to put one in the front and the rear of both tires. So you're going to need 4 bricks or 2x4s or whatever you're choosing to use. We'll jack the back up, then use jack stands on your rear jack points, one here and one on the other side to secure the vehicle. Okay, here's my setup. I've got a cinder block in front of the front right and some wooden ramps behind the front right. Same thing on the front left. Got the car all the way up on these jack stands, big red 3 tons, one on each side. I'm using an additional jack stand here just under the fuel tank, because the only things that hold these up, at least according to what I find on real OEM, are the straps. And you can see how rusty my chassis brace and the fuel tank straps actually are. So I don't think this is going to be in the way too much. Just support this side of the tank so when we do drop everything. And let me reiterate that we're only going to be working on one side at a time. Do not remove all of your old hardware. It's just a poor idea. So we're going to do one side at a time, get the new side secured, and then move on. So that's just gonna keep everything in place so we don't have a surprise of dumping gasoline. Another smart decision when doing fuel tank straps, do it when your tank is as close to empty as you're comfortable driving the car. One, it's gonna weigh less. Two, just for safety, we're messing with the fuel tank. If there is some disaster and a spill, I'd rather spill a gallon or less of fuel than say 18.1, the entire tank. Now, I'm not that smart. I have 3/4 of a tank in this car right now, but this is the only day I'm gonna be able to do this. So I'm taking extra precautions with jacks and extra stands and stuff like that. So I'm gonna put together some tools that I'm pretty sure we're gonna need, and then I'll crawl under there. I've got a towel too, so I don't have to lay on wet cement. Since I'm working alone on this project, I will not have the luxury of asking a friend to get me some tools, so I just moved the primary tools that I use down here. I've got a socket set, high impact 6-point 1/2-inch drive. These are Tectons, 11 through 32 millimeters. I have my random box of hex heads, different sockets. You're definitely gonna want a 1/2-inch drive, at least 18-inch breaker bar, and a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, in addition to all of your other sockets and various extensions. So I'm gonna crawl under there. You know, another good thing to have would be a can of PB Blaster. I actually broke these bolts free not too long ago. I had time, so I decided to get the hard part done, hopefully. But if you're not like me and you have not broken them free, they're probably very rusty as well as everything else down there. So get a can of PB Blaster. You might want to hit that and let it sit for a little bit so you don't round them off or strip them and just make your life easier. Welcome underneath the car. I'm trying to hold the camera down as far as possible. I do not have a whole lot of clearance under here though. You can see the wretched condition of my existing exhaust center brace and chassis braces here. They're not real pretty, not at all. Here are the fuel tank straps, pretty much flaking apart. So I am gonna start over here. On an M5, the first thing I'm gonna do is just remove this passenger side chassis brace. So there's gonna be 2 bolts up here. I'll get you a size in a minute. And then down here, there's another one. It looks like the same size. So we'll get those out, remove this piece, and then I think I'm gonna go straight to the fuel tank strap. Now note that if you don't have an M5, you're not gonna have these braces, so you're gonna be ready for the fuel tank strap. So stay tuned to the next clip. So those 3 bolts that I showed you are 13 millimeter bolts for the chassis braces. Here are the old ones. Off to a decent start. I did destroy some parts. On the back end, the tall end of the chassis braces, you're gonna run into these plastic covers on an M5. I have not seen these plastic covers on other E39s. Maybe it's an M5 thing, I don't know. They're just really cheap plastic. I tried prying it off, and as you can see, my hand went right through it. So it looks like I'm gonna be ordering some of these. They can't be that much money. They're literally just crap plastic that slides on there. It's really tight on here. You're gonna think there's something else holding this end of the chassis brace on the car. They're not. There's not. Rock it back and forth, hang on it a little bit, it will come down. So I think I'm on this one, instead of pushing, I think I'm gonna try to torque it like this back and forth and then lift it off. And that worked. So that's how you would not break these things. These are both really cheap and brittle anyways. There's a part number on there. 7892203 and 7892204. So it looks like I'm gonna need those. But I think I will install these anyways today, the new ones, and just pull them up there like that without the plastic. I'll have to order it and then get back under the car and take it down again and put them in later. But once I get this on there, and all the parts are fresh, they'll be easier to remove. So you can see where the center exhaust brace used to live. There's gonna be a total of 6 bolts you're gonna have to undo. They're all 13 millimeters. The ones on the outside, as in not those 2, not these bolts, those are fairly easy to remove. Hit them with PB Blaster. Definitely use a 6-point socket so you don't round them. 13 mil, put a breaker bar on there and give them hell. They will come off. As you can see, I knocked a screw loose for my heat shielding, so I'll have to put that back up. The 2 interior bolts that are responsible for connecting the exhaust to this brace right here, they're kind of recessed. And if you've got any rust buildup on that, like I sure as hell do, you're gonna need to get a socket. It's also a 13, put it there and pound it on the nut. They're not bolts, they're nuts. pound it on the nut. If that doesn't work, you're gonna need a thin wall socket. This is a pretty thick wall, heavy duty. It's actually an impact wrench socket. So those are a little tighter. Hit them with PB blaster and break them free. So that's where we are right now. Both chassis braces are gone. This is the other end that they connect to, where those plastic covers are. Honestly, I don't really see a whole lot of purpose for those plastic covers. Maybe it's just supposed to try to keep that a little rust free on the rear subframe here, I don't know. I will replace them since they're supposed to be there, but those are the holes that the long bolts thread into. So now, kind of the purpose of this video is the fuel tank straps. Let me squirm back here a little bit. You can see they're just in mint condition. It is an Allen head right up there. Sorry for the lighting. I think it's a 6 mil. I'm gonna put one in there and drop her down, keeping in mind that you are definitely gonna want a jack on this side of your fuel tank. Let's do one side at a time. Here is this side of it. It's a 6 millimeter Allen head. I use something like this. That's a 6 millimeter and a 3/8 to 1/2 inch adapter to a 6-inch 1/2 inch drive extension into a 1/2 inch ratchet. You may need a breaker bar on that. Hit it with PB blaster. The hole is right there. Then they're gonna swing down like this. We slide a little bit more towards the back of the car. The other end hinges up in here, and then you're gonna wanna lift it up and down, and you'll find out that it looks like that. So let's do a little comparison here of the old versus the new. All right, so the inside was actually not as bad as I expected, as I saw a few online. Definitely rusted though. It's worse on the bottom side of it, just nasty. I did remove a little black rubber piece there that looks like it just fills in some gaps. I moved it over to the new one. It's not in great shape. It'll serve its purpose though. I'm not worried about that. The other side, the new fuel tank strap came with the proper piece of rubber on there, as you can see, new, so we don't have to worry about that. I am going to check my bag of parts, ensure that I have another 6 millimeter Allen head, although the one that I pulled out wasn't that bad, so I could reuse it if I did not order one. But yeah, that was a lot easier than I expected, actually. All right, here's the parts that I found. One, I had to buy these in a kit, I believe. These are the washers that I'm pretty sure are going to thread on for the center exhaust retainer bolts. It's a 07119906089. You'll need 2 of those. These look to me like the 6 millimeter Allen screws that are going to hold our fuel tank straps up. 07119910379. We will need 2 of those. And then these are the long bolts for the chassis brace. 18301728074. And then these would be the bolts that hold the sides, only for these, the sides of the exhaust brace up. 07119905529. Oh, that looks a heck of a lot better, doesn't it? Really easy install. It just hinges up over the little peg down there. Make sure your rubber gets seated correctly. Then we slide back a foot. That's the hardest part for this job. Take the bolt I told you about and thread it in right there. Takes a little bit of poking and moving around to get it to thread. It threads at a bit of an angle like that. So the back end of the bolt is a little lower down, but tighten it up. Don't make it real tight. These Allens are fairly easy to strip. I don't know why they don't just use a hex bolt. But I really don't feel like the jack did anything on this side of the fuel tank. It's just a safety thing. I'm definitely going to do it on the other side for the heck of it. There's the original part, and here is the new part. So we'll have this one in about 5 minutes, hopefully. I said it would take 5 minutes. It took about 3. Not bad at all. Same deal. Slide it over the hinge. Use your new 6 millimeter Allen and tighten her down right there. No specific torque spec. There's rubber grommets in there, so it's kind of spongy. And honestly, these fuel tanks seem very, very solid in here. I don't think that's fully responsible at all for holding it up like people say, but maybe mine are just seized in place or something. So I'm going to get my jack out of here and move on to installing the new center exhaust brace and then the chassis braces. These are all of the old parts finally out of the car. Everything bolts back up just how you expected that it would. These are all 13 millimeters. The new one's really easy since there's no rust on that. The part number that I gave you for the bolts is directly from real OEM, and it's going to give you this, which is about half the length it needs to be. So I cleaned up my originals with a steel brush and reused those, and that's going to be fine. These plastic pieces of crap I ordered online, so they're going to come
in a couple of weeks and I will install them. It'll take 15 minutes. Let's get back under here. Here's all the new stuff. This bolt right there, stripped out, worked on it for an hour, it's done. I'm not getting that out, so the 3 other ones are nice and tight, and using the long ones that I gave you the number for are nice and tight, and those plastic things will go back here. But 2 new straps, 2 new braces, a center brace, and it looks a lot nicer, and hopefully will be stronger for years to come. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, need any more part numbers, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.